As far as the what happened in college football as a whole, congratulations to Michigan, who's able to probably still utilize some of their cheating and sign stealing and get a big win with an interim head coach. Jim Harbaugh suspended for the rest of the season. They're trying to fight that in court. I still think Georgia is the best program in the nation. I think they're the best football team this year. I think you saw that against Ole Miss, who, after the Rebels made it a somewhat close game early, just hammered and took control of that game. I didn't know what Kirk Herbstreit and who was on with him. I can't remember his name all of a sudden. I didn't know what they were going to talk about for the second half. That was so one-sided. Oh, help me with he's really good. He used to host College Game Day for years.
Oh, Chris Fowler.
Yes, Chris Fowler. I didn't know what they were going to talk about. I felt for them, having done play-by-play before. So do you think, after what you saw this weekend, that Georgia, who Tennessee plays on Saturday, is the best football program / team in the nation?
I still have, if you just were to power rank it, I would probably have Georgia number one, but I got to be honest, I was more impressed with Michigan's play on Saturday than Georgia's play. Because even though Georgia blew out Ole Miss, you and I know, Dave, that Michigan plays a different style of ball. They play that old school Big Ten style. It was. Did you watch the Michigan Penn State game at all? I don't know if you did.
I did.
It was. It was 24-15. Let's be honest, it wasn't that close. Michigan absolutely beat the brakes off them. And I don't know if you know this. I don't think they threw a pass in the second half. They didn't throw a pass in the second half because they didn't respect Penn State's ability to stop them running the ball. And it didn't matter. When you can have your way with the program like that. And I know Penn State is like a tier below Michigan, the same way Georgia is Ole Miss. But when you can have your way with the program like that in the second half, when your coach is suspended, you don't find out, by the way, until an hour before the game that he's not going to coach. Because remember, they had to do the injunction and the stay, and they didn't know. And you go out and beat Penn State on the road like that. I think Michigan, that was the most impressive win any team has had all year to me.
Yep, agree.
I just wanted to run out my top 10 for you, and you give me your thoughts on it if you disagree.
Mm-hmm. Lay it on me.
All right. Ohio State number 1, Washington 2, Michigan 3, Georgia 4, Florida State 5, Oregon 6, Texas 7, Alabama 8, Louisville 9, Penn State 10.
I got no real argument with those.
I know you think Georgia's better, but they still don't have the resume of a Washington, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that at all. I mean, I just think Georgia is the best football team right now in the nation.
Jeff Brom is the coach of the year at Louisville. What if Tennessee hired him in 2017 because they almost did? He's got Louisville at 9-1. And also watch out for that Oregon-Washington Pac-12 title collision course, guys.
There you go. There's nothing like that. All right, what else we got as we look back over the weekend?
Those are the main ones, yeah. So Oregon-Washington Pac-12 title collision course, and also Jeff Brom, coach of the year. Texas, Dave, here's the crazy part. Texas is staying ahead of Alabama. This is the last point I want to bring up. Alabama's better than Texas right now. You watch those two teams play, Alabama's the better team. And Jalen Milroe is the better quarterback than anybody on Texas. But if they both went out, you had to put Texas in the playoff over Alabama, right? Because they beat Alabama.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, I'll tell you the one thing that stood out about that Alabama game to me is Jalen Milroe's decisiveness of when to run the football. I couldn't help but think, if Joe Milton had that, this is a different year. Right? Like, I'm going to go. I'm going. You got to make that in a split second. I mean, I'm going. I'm not thinking about going. I'm going. And Jalen Milroe does that as well as anybody in the nation. When he decides to go, man, he is upfield. And Joe Milton has the ability to do that. And it's just frustrating that he doesn't choose to do so. All right. So
that's actually the biggest advantage Nico has over Joe, by the way. Even though Joe's more faster, Nico doesn't hesitate. Did you notice that when he's in? He knows when to run.
Yeah. Process. How you process things.
CJ Stroud is rookie of the year because of that.
Yes. Should have started the season with Nico.
Oh my gosh.
Just telling you.
There goes Dave.
What? Okay, when he goes out there and balls out against Georgia, Vanderbilt, whoever they play in the bowl game or the first game next year, you're going to be like, Dad, blame it. Dave was right in August 2023.
Dave, you're just burned because Fulmer it worked for when you were covering Tennessee when Fulmer made the gutsy move to start Ainge and Schaefer over CJ Leak. But,
I didn't think that was gutsy. I didn't think CJ Leak could play.
You would have started James Banks in 2003. I'm kidding.
Maybe. Wanted to take a second Caleb, if I can, and it's been on the message board, and it was reported on Friday late, and that was Mike Hamilton's passing as a former athletic director for Tennessee, but much more a great individual who worked with several charities after his time at Tennessee and chose to get out of the athletic realm altogether. And he helped and changed lives in several different ways. He adopted children from Africa that certainly he changed their lives forever. Can you imagine? And I think he was a great man. I don't really want to get into how he may have handled or mishandled some of the issues at Tennessee. I will say this though, the move he made, I think we can agree that will always be questioned was the move from Philip Fulmer to Lane Kiffin. If Lane Kiffin doesn't get the crack at Southern Cal, he may still be Tennessee's head coach. I think that move was aggressive. I think it should have been insured by a stronger buyout if Lane Kiffin decided to leave. I think it was less than $1 million, so that was nothing to Southern California and paying that. But that was an aggressive move, and some people are never going to like Mike Hamilton for what happened to Philip Fulmer and the way he was fired. But if you look at the facilities and what Tennessee has going on right now, I believe a lot of that is due to Mike Hamilton. But at the end of the day, don't judge him as just an athletic director. Judge him as a man that gave most of his life to charity work, a man that made that a priority in his own home. And personally, I can tell you that he was always a respectful person that I loved working with. And yeah, that's sometimes it's better be judged as a person, Caleb, than as how you handle your job from 9 to 5.
Yeah, I always felt I had a lot of criticisms of some of the moves they made. You've enlightened me that some of those were not all his moves. They were people that took the power away from him to make those moves. But I think
Hiring Derek Dooley was not his choice. I can tell you that.
yeah, I think Mike Hamilton tried to lead with integrity as best as he could. And I want to bring this up, and a lot of people don't know this, but I want to bring up a little bit of history real quick. When Mike Hamilton took over as athletic director, I believe it was in 2003. Dave, you may remember that was the same year the lottery scholarship was introduced in Tennessee. And I don't know if you remember why there was momentum behind that. Tennessee in the early 2000s, the academic program had collapsed. It was a really, really, really bad academic school at the turn of the century. And it was ranked the number one party school, a lot of issues. You remember the academic fraud investigation, not just for the but for the football program, but the academics as a whole was terrible. Hamilton took a really gutsy stance to commit a lot more of the resources from the athletic department to help stabilize the academic program, which is why Tennessee is a borderline public Ivy now as a public school. It's not there yet, but he's really upped the qualifications for the college itself. That was Mike Hamilton. Now, a lot of fans were upset about that because when Mike Hamilton was forced to resign, I don't know if he was forced or if he did. I don't know everything that went into that. But when he did resign, when Dave Hart took over, Tennessee was very much behind on their reserves and they were very depleted. Luckily for them, it didn't matter because the SEC network was coming. And by the way, don't think Mike Hamilton probably didn't have a role in making sure and checking out the revenue that would come from the SEC network before Dave Hart ever stepped into the role.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike Hamilton, the dramatic improvement in Tennessee academics from 2003 to when he resigned, that stands out because Mike Hamilton was really one of the first to commit some resources to help the academic department. And he was the first, by the way, athletic director to say Tennessee should be more than just a football school. Whatever you want to say about Doug Dickey, he didn't care about academics and he didn't care about any other sport. He wanted football and that was it. Am I right?
Yeah, they never would have had the golden years of Tennessee basketball with Bruce Pearl. I mean, that was a fantastic time. He was smart enough to know that you shouldn't get rid of the Lady Vols logo. He was a guy that loved Tennessee, even though he didn't come up through Tennessee. And I will tell you what, I am just incredibly saddened by his passing at just 60 years old. So rest in peace, sir. You're a fantastic man. And really, at the end of the day, wouldn't we rather be a fantastic man than a fantastic worker? I
No, I
certainly would.
agree. He can
I
live with
certainly would.
himself.